What's up, you beauties? Welcome to HW Hockey's YouTube channel, episode, I think fittingly, 24 of Season 8. I'm your host, Jim Icavone. Yes, Jim Icavone, not Santa Claus, joined, as always, by the number one elf, Jack Smith. If you're catching us live on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, smash the subscribe button, and hit the like button. The like goal for the episode, if you want to do us a Christmas present, a Christmas solid, our like goal for the episode is 100. And for all the podcast listeners out there, don't forget to subscribe, Apple Podcast or Spotify, so you're first in line when newest episodes drop. A lot to get to, Jack. Obviously, it's Christmas Eve. We're doing sort of an impromptu show during the day here. So if you're hanging out with us, if you're tuning in on Christmas Eve, thanks for hanging out. Make sure you say hello. Merry Christmas to you all in the comments. All right, we have that out of the way, Jack. A lot to get to. A lot's happened. Flyers have 1-2 straight. If we did this show on Monday, we might be a little bit more out of the Christmas spirit. But things have gone well last night, and the victory on Monday against Vancouver. Denver Barkey's been called up. We got a lot to talk about. Where do you want to start?
Oh, that's tough, man. I almost want to get like the bad stuff out of the way, but I'm too cheerful. Denver Barkey is a good place to start. I mean, my God, did he hit the ground running, huh?
Yeah. So I got to say, somewhat unexpectedly for me, and there's two sides with Barkey. Like, before I get like too analytical, what do you want to talk about first with Barkey?
Oh, honestly, I mean, he's played 3 games now. I mean, his first game, he was above a point per game player, which was shocking. And he's just like, the engine just never stops. Like, he just keeps going. It's like, it's just such a shot in the arm for this team. And Tocchet's trust in him. He has him out there on the power play in overtime. Like I understand. I think everybody was kind of surprised he even got called up. Like, I was like, oh, Barkey, really? Yeah, we're all for this. Didn't see that coming. If anything, maybe bump. But, like, yeah, that's great. Yeah, let's give it a go. And it's like, damn, it's going to be a tough decision if he keeps playing this way to when people get healthy. It's, Farces out the year, so we'll see, to send him down. Like, is he here to stay? Are we looking at something like that? I mean, so far, so good.
Yeah, and he's been a shot in the arm. You're right. The thing that stands out when you watch him is the motor. And a player of his size absolutely needs that. When you combine the motor with the smartness, you kind of get Denver Bark, and he has the skill. So those 3 things. What hurts him, and is what we saw last night. And yeah, it was a cheap hit, right? Because you see a guy go down. I'm sure Blackhawks fans will argue that, Denver Barkey with the blindside hit. Denver Barkey's 5'5", 5'6". And anybody hitting you with speed, it's gonna make an impact. But that guy went down pretty quick. And then obviously Wyatt Kaiser comes in from behind and kind of jams Barkey into the wall there. So I'm not going to blame that on Barkey being undersized. But if for me, it's like a ticking time bomb, right? Because all it takes is that one hit, and it'll put him down. So it was unfortunate to see. But he's I don't want to say that I've been a doubter. Well, I guess I'm the definition of a doubter, I guess. Because you could see he has the skill. He has the smarts to stay in the NHL. But, I think I'm someone that has to see it in order for me to say, yeah, Barkey can play in the NHL. And through 2.5, 3 games, it's like, all right, yeah, he can stick. But it's like, for how long for me still? I'm still waiting for when something bad going to happen. And unfortunately, it did in this 3rd game. So I'm not going to blame that on him being small, but that's what I was afraid of.
Right. And, he's the kind of guy who's going to have a high motor. He's going to put himself in situations where he could get hurt. And, I love it, but I hope that he can find a way to still play the way it's kind of like a Wade Allison thing, except for Wade Allison had the size or enough size he can only play a certain way, but he would get hurt. And it's like, if he couldn't play that way, he wasn't an NHL player. I hope that's not the case with Barkey. That is the one thing I can see derailing this strong start for him. I have no reason to believe that'll happen yet, although he did not return, I believe, after that altercation, we'll call it. So I didn't see anything about him being out extended wise. I could have missed that, but I don't remember seeing anything. So late game last night. That was another thing. Did you see, because of the Detroit Dallas game, it got pushed back a half hour? I mean, I'm glad it didn't without me, but like, I was kind of like, what the hell are they doing? What's going on here? Like,
yeah, I actually tuned in half an hour late. And like, I just forgot what time it was. And I happened to look at the clock and I saw like 9:20, 9:25. And I was like, oh, shit, I probably missed at least half of the first period, and turned it on, and they're still in warm-ups. Like,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't just start the game and then tune in after, because I was watching the Dallas Red Wings game at that point. But I was kind of like, okay, well, at least they didn't start without me. I don't mind. I'm off the next day. It's Christmas time. But it was kind of irritating. But, I mean, just from his start, I really hope he gets – that's what you say when you make the jump. From the AHL, even from juniors to the AHL, but also the AHL to the NHL, is consistency. And a lot of it's not just your play, it's if you can stay healthy, and he's going to have a pretty tough battle at that. And, we'll see. Hopefully they got a lot of time off. They're not playing again until Sunday. So hopefully he's available Sunday, and he's fine. And he just finds a way to make it work. I mean, there are players who have done it. I think he's smart enough and skilled enough where he can do it. And like you said, he's going to have that high motor, maybe not always be throwing the body around. And try to protect himself a little bit. But at the same time, he's in a situation right now where he wants to make an impact, as he most likely wants to stay. Who wouldn't? So maybe he's overdoing it a little bit, and he'll find that consistency down the road. But ultimately, what a nice surprise, because I wasn't expecting anybody to get called up when Zamula was sent down. And, I wasn't sure what they were going to do. And it's always like a guy, you're like, oh, here comes like a Grunstrom, for instance, who in his own right has been good, but I don't think anybody was super excited when he originally got called up. I was maybe Anthony Richard or somebody like that. Was not expecting Barkey, even though him and Bump have been playing very well together. So that was that was great to see. So, and it's so far so good too. It's like he's rewarding them for doing that. And I love having a player like this in our prospect pool. What was he, a 4th, 5th round pick, if I can remember correctly? Not expecting much from. It's free money. It's free money. Let it happen. So definitely one of the better stories of this past week.
Yeah, for sure. And we'll see how long he sticks. We'll see what's going on with the injury and whatnot. But nothing to complain about so far. Here's something that I was curious about. Like, Barkey's being put out there in all these situations. I wonder if it frustrates a guy like Michkov, because that's what we assume. We assumed at the beginning of the year, Michkov would be getting these situations. He would be getting rewarded with these shifts and whatnot. Did you feel any kind of way? Did you think about anything from that kind of perspective there? Like, what about Michkov? The
only way I thought of it was I was like, it was awfully fast that Tocchet was like, here you go. Here's power play time. Here's overtime time. He just, this guy's, I get it. He's the kind of player that would be responsible. But it's like he's still got to prove himself a little bit here, right? You really gave him the reins awfully quick. It was almost kind of like, and I don't actually believe this, but it was almost like a spit in the face to Michkov. I'm going to play this kid over you. And it was, I understand there's different roles involved, but it was a little wow, was he half coaching? Was he watching tape on Barkey for all year or something like that? He was awfully fast to hand him the reins a little bit. But maybe he just wants to see what he has. I want to monitor this more going forward and see where we're at instead of just kind of reacting. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. It was I like seeing Barkey. You know how we are with prospects and young players, but it was also you have other guys you can give more ice time to if you really wanted to. And the team's in a pretty decent spot, and these are not the best teams they're playing right now. Where you could, if you wanted to, you could. So there's definitely something to keep your eye on there.
Yeah, for sure. And look, it's not really like Barkey was lighting it up in the AHL points wise. Pretty consistent scoring. Every couple games a goal, every couple games an assist. Heating up more the last month or the last few weeks at least. which is why maybe they chose to give him that look. And, the motor is the most important thing with Barkey, I think, where, he has the legs, but he also has the brains to go with it. So he's not a player that's necessarily going to hurt you when he's out there because he's responsible defensively, like we saw. I think everything that he was doing in Lehigh and everything that he was doing with London, you saw during those first 2 or 3 games, which I was a little bit surprised by that, to tell you the truth. I always expect guys when they come up to be a little bit out of place.
Mm-hmm.
And Barkey was standing out in positive ways, which I was genuinely surprised. And when he found guys like Travis Sanheim alone in the slot, right? And I think the very next shift even then found Owen Tippett in the game against the Rangers. That's what he does. And so to see him do that in his very first game, in arguably, one of the, not that it's tough to play at Madison Square Garden, but I could see how it would be easy to, the lights are brightest there. So it's kind of like maybe you get lost in the moment where he kind of seized it. Boom, 2 primary assists in less than a minute, just doing what he does. So I was surprised by that, honestly. And if he can continue that, Barkey's not going to be a point per game player. But if he can continue just doing what he does at the NHL level, he'll be perfectly fine. And we could be looking at a Bobby Brink replacement for sure. Like, you can't have them both on the same team. All respect to Bobby Brink, who I think is playing well this year. But Brink is letting it be known, like, hey, I can play on the third line in the NHL, I think.
Yeah, I like that he was not intimidated by the moment. And he did that when he went from juniors to the AHL. He was one of the better stories at the Phantoms, and he jumps up here, and it's like, I'm just here to play hockey. I'm not moved by where I'm playing hockey or who it's against. I'm going to play my game. The subtleties of his game are very good. Like, you made 2 great points with the passes he's made and just locating where those players were on the ice, and seems to be doing a lot of little things right all the time, which maybe that's partly why Tocchet is big on him. It's like, yeah, I can trust you. Like, I just the way you play the game, I can trust you to be out there with the big boys. And yeah, you can't question it. I mean, it's been 3 games, and I don't think he had a bad one. He definitely had. He's got 2 points already. It's maybe you give him a hard time about taking a penalty or something like that. But really, are we being that nitpicky over this guy? So it's definitely fun to watch, and it makes you excited. Like, you don't know what kind of player he's going to be. You have an idea, but it's like, just keep excelling, because everybody's expectations of you are constantly changing every time he steps up a level and plays. So yeah, I got to give him credit. I think maybe we're having a different conversation. He's somebody else's replacement in a year or something like that. I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but it makes you excited.
No, I mean, that was one of the first things I thought about was Bobby Brink and Denver Barkey cannot coexist on this team. One of them has to go. They're both right winger, both small. You could argue that Barkey is we've only seen the NHL for 3 games. You could argue, though, has the higher ceiling. And Brink's generating some trade interest, which we'll see if we get to that in this episode or not. Vegas has a couple points here. Still better than Farabee. Yeah, we'll see. And the point total is lower than Bump's. I think Bump has like 27 points, where Barkey has like 16. I could check that real quick. But I think Bump has 20 points. Barkey's got 16. So they're close. But they need the one needs the other, though. And it's
I guess we'll see, right?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to keep them together. And I don't think Barkey will be up here very long, because they still need him down there. And the Phantoms they've hit a kind of a rough patch where they started out really well, winning like 2 out of 3 games, 3 out of 4 games, every week, every other week, whatever it is. But that hasn't been the case the last few weeks. And I have to wonder if, that was kind of Briere being like, all right, well, I'm not taking him away from anything down there. I'll bring him up during a couple games before the winter break, and then we'll send him back down when things kind of get smoothed over up here. I mean, how long can they keep, not that Hathaway was doing anything offensively, but how long can they keep a guy like that scratched before it starts to affect the room, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, it's tough because is he signed for next year too? Because that can really complicate things.
Yeah,
Um,
I think he is. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, yeah, that's tough. At the end of the day, though, and the way that Tocchet's been coaching this team is it's to win games. And going into it a little bit more, the fourth line now is actually producing and doing something. And Obels is a part of that. He's another guy. I believe he had 2 assists over the last 3 games. And obviously Bankin and Grunstrom have been playing well. And it's like you need your fourth line to produce. You're trying to win now. Are you really gonna? They'll spell some guys. They'll get into some games, but I don't know how much I see him playing long term now unless he really turns things around. You're gonna have to give them some runway. Like these players are playing good. They're playing, and I understand they play the best teams, but you were getting no production from your fourth line. So to start getting production, as a player, you want to win, right? So you can't be too upset about where he's at. And how old is he now anyway? Your Hathaway. He's like 34 or something.
Hang on. Yeah, he's 34 years old. Yeah.
So I mean, like it's not like he's a kid. Like, are you really worried about that? Maybe this is the part of his where he's at in his career. You know, he knows he's not producing. I'm sure he wants to get back out there and change things. But they gave him a good run. It's it's almost 2026 at this rate. So I'm not too worried about it. I don't think if he got benched the rest of the season, that could be a problem. But I think he's definitely, at least for this season, at least right now, he's starting to fall back into a press box guy in case of need. And it's different than Delorier for sure. It's not the same type, but like, why would you change what you have going right for you right now? We sit second in the division today. We are second in the division. It's almost 2026. That's wild. That's crazy. Don't mess with it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And don't just do it to make somebody feel better. This is a business. We need to win. We told everybody we're going to win. We're turning a corner. We're going to win. We're putting up with all this Michkov BS with the ice time and all that. At the end of the day, the team's winning. So that's all that matters.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to monitor. Yeah. Like, yeah, we'll see. Like, you're right. The fourth line with Obels, Gurbankin, Grunstrom, I would like to see that. Give it a shot. See what they can do down there. I think we were worried about the amount of goals they were scoring, and they're still pretty low. But when you're getting 0 from your fourth line, and it's not to blame the fourth line for the lack of offense, but I mean, I think they had 0 for a good portion of the first quarter of the season. And, if they could even chip in with 3, 4, 5 along the way, it makes a massive difference. When your fourth line gets a goal, it's like a jolt to the system. It's like, all right, boys, like they're doing it. Like, let's go get one.
No, I totally agree with that. Jim, you're getting called out here.
Who said, Mr. Twitzer? What's your address? I'll come
Prove
visit.
It. Prove it.
I'll stop by.
Yeah.
You didn't know Santa was a Flyers fan.
Wow.
All right. Let's move on here. Denver Barkey, we talked about. Garnet Hathaway, we talked about. We touched on Michkov for a second. And this happened earlier in the week, Jack. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. So the media, I think, were asking Tocchet about the interaction between Michkov, Tocchet, and the power play coach, Yogi. I can't pronounce his last name. And it looked like, Michkov was getting pretty animated, which is perfectly fine. I actually love seeing that from a player, whether it's a positive or negative conversation. What you're seeing is passion, which usually means a player cares. Right. So that's fine for me. So the media were following up the next day with questions. And I guess there were 3, 4 questions in a row about Michkov, which, media, when they ask these questions, they're writing a story about what happened. And then, the explanation from the coach about what happened. So I can't be mad at the media for asking, but I guess Tocchet got to a point where he's like, enough questions about Michkov. All right. And I have sort of a problem with the way he responded. I have a problem with, I wouldn't say a lot, but during his press conferences, I take issue with some of the answers that he gives. They rub me the wrong way. And I want to know what your thoughts were between, this interaction between Tocchet and the media, Jack.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's kind of like, I get it, but come on. Like you know you're going to get asked these questions when you're not. It's like part of me is like, are you really that out of tune with what is being discussed on social media, with how big social media is now, especially the Flyers contingent part of it? Like there's a big part of Twitter that's just talking Flyers. And the number one issue, for obvious reasons, going back to last year and even the year before, is anything and all things to do with Michkov. Whether you think it's ridiculous or not, it's going to be the discussion point. And the beat writers, who's reading their stuff? It's the fans. And if the number one thing they want to know about is Michkov's ice time and things of that nature, of course you're going to be asked these questions. So it's kind of like, I kind of just roll my eyes at it. It's like, it's like, okay, he had his, okay, guys, enough. I can't, there's other players on the team. Yeah. Nobody cares. Like there's things we want to know. Obviously, if there Barkey got questions, but like we want to know what's going on with Michkov, because as we all sit here, we all realize him becoming a superstar is vital to this team doing anything when it matters. Could you imagine if he was playing the way he was last year now with how the rest of this team is playing right now? Like that's a big what if, and that's what we hope our future is. So obviously you're going to get asked questions about this until he goes back to what he was last year, or at least gets the playing time. So again, like you brought up earlier, Barkey gets more playing time and overtime and power play time. Why not Michkov? Like it's gonna get asked, obviously. And then I don't know if you saw, Jim, somebody compared him talking about Elias Pettersson in Vancouver, almost the same exact dismissive tone. Pete, everything's about Pete. And then look how things ended there. Now I'm not putting that on Tocchet, but it was like the two dismissive responses kind of mirrored each other. I do think those situations are very different, though. I'm not like terrified or anything, but it's just one of those things. Sometimes coaches do stuff where they get in some cases they get snippy with the media, and I'm just like, just answer the question. Like, just if you have to be dismissive about it, be dismissive, but don't be stupid. I don't think he crossed that line, but it's kind of like annoying to me. I just like, how do you not know that this is going to be the thing? And I get you can point to the record and be like, who cares? You can bring that up, but yeah, no matter what, they can be undefeated that you're going to get asked about Michkov, because it is about, he is as big part of this future as anything. And we haven't had something like that since Giroux. So yeah, it comes with the territory. And I know you were prepped when you came here. So come on.
Yeah. So for me, I think Tocchet, I don't know if I want to say unknowingly, but he kind of showed his cards a little bit, in my opinion, with how he feels about Michkov. Because if you like somebody, you don't have any problems answering questions about them because you enjoy talking about them, right?
He real quick, what he did answer was positive stuff. Like before he got snippy, he was saying, he wasn't glowing over him, but he was saying positive things. It's just like he had enough Michkov questions, but I'm still like, this, it comes with the territory. Sorry, I just wanted to point that. I meant to say that in my spiel.
Yeah, but it's like, just answer the questions then, because they weren't asking anything malicious or, with ill intent.
I guess it was too much, in his mind.
So just answer the question. Like it on TV, you could clearly see they're having an animated discussion. Right. And so that people are going to ask you about it. You could see Tocchet like putting his hand on him, like, hey, calm down. Because Tocchet knows this is going to be talked about the next day now. Mm-hmm. So, with what happened in Vancouver, stuff ended up coming out that, Pettersson wasn't coming into camp, not coming into the season in the best shape. He wasn't taking his off-season routine seriously. And so there is a similarity. Like, who knows? We don't know what happened with Michkov, right? They said he got hurt. But if you're Tocchet, and he already has the reputation for not being crazy about Russian players, this Russian, supposedly superstar talent comes in out of shape. If you're the coach, if I'm the coach, it doesn't matter why you came in out of shape. You came into your first camp with me, out of shape. That's a first impression. And he already has,
Yeah, that's true.
let's say, biased opinions about certain players, whatever. So look, it's legit. Michkov is in the doghouse. And what I noticed with Barkey right away was, look, if you had to do a side-by-side of the way Barkey plays a game and the way Michkov plays a game, Barkey looked pretty friggin' good, you know? And I'm sure like playing the same system down in Lehigh Valley helps out a lot with that. So he was able to come in, hit the ground running, but Michkov doesn't look like that during a game. He doesn't stand out almost every shift he's on. And maybe it's because, I was watching Barkey to see how he would do. But like Michkov will stand out periodically. And maybe he's just that kind of player. Like, I don't know if Michkov's ever going to be the type of player that will take over a game, but he can take over certain parts of a game. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And yeah, and I get where you're going with that.
So, look, I try to talk about players without bias. And the truth is, like, Barkey looked good, like better than Michkov in those 3 games than Michkov has looked in any game this year, in my opinion. And so Tocchet, I mean, did you hear the way he talked about Barkey? Did you hear the way Couturier talked about Barkey? Like, I was listening for all those things. And then you hear the way he talks about Michkov, and it's like, it's playing the game the right way. He's getting better defensively. And they are different players, so they're going through different things. But Barkey does the things already as a third round pick that Michkov doesn't as a 7th overall pick. And all they want to talk about is Michkov. So the players, I think, at least from the sounds of it, are starting to get a little bit angry. The coach, you could clearly see, he didn't really do himself any favors there, at least to me, by answering the way he did. He's getting a little bit angry. The kid came out of shape, and this is all you want to talk to me about. We have Jamie Drysdale having an outstanding season. I don't know if we'll touch on too much today, but look, it's happening right in front of our eyes, right? Trevor Zegras, point per game player. Who expected that? He's going to get $10 million this offseason. We'll see. But there's so many bright spots. So I get it from Tocchet's perspective, but I also think he showed his hand a little bit. He's frustrated with Michkov. He's frustrated that the media want to keep talking about him. So it was interesting. I thought I thought he showed a lot in that small instance there. Maybe I'm reading too much in, but it's kind of what we do.
Yeah, I agree for the most part. I don't know if he revealed his hand enough where I think there's an issue though. Do you think there's like a locker room potential roster issue between?
Well, I don't think they're going to be trading him anytime soon, but I think there's frustration for sure.
Well, that's understandable with a young player. Like when I looked at with Pedersen, with him not coming into camp and all that stuff, that was after he signed his like huge $11.6 million a year for 8 years deal. Michkov's a young guy. He's been playing hockey. He finally comes over here, has a good year, and then he kind of has one bad offseason where everything kind of came easy to the guy. And he goes, the way I look at it is he goes, oh, crap, this is not as easy as I thought it was going to be. Now I'm playing catch up, new coach. Like, I'm for sure. And it's like, I have people ask me like, well, isn't he in shape now? I'm like, well, yeah, he might be in play shape, but like everybody else is in mid-season form. Like he's still catching up to that. That's why it's so important to have a good offseason. You want to be playing catch up the whole year or more than half the year. And that's why it comes down to the ice time and the trustworthiness with him. And I honestly think if like we didn't have to ask these questions, they would have discussions, animated discussions. Michkov is a passionate player, and I think if anything, Tocchet would like that about him. He wants to win. He wants to put up points, and he's hard on himself when he doesn't. He can't help the team like he has. But I do think it's going to be a process. I mean, Tocchet did put him out there for that empty netter. Like normally he's not in that situation, but he gave it to him, and he got the empty netter, help boost not his stats, but his confidence. So like there's something there. I don't think they're out. Like if that only how could a player and a coach be out on each other or one on the other after a couple of months? Like it's going to be a process. Like Rome wasn't built in a day. Everybody relax. So I understand Tocchet's frustration. I don't really care, but I would have thought he would have handled it a little bit better. But then, because when you do have that reaction, you leave yourself open to these crazy nuts on social media who are pulling clips from you saying the same thing in Vancouver, and then they're saying, well, look how things ended in Vancouver, and it's like, oh, he doesn't like hardworking players or whatever, and it's like, oh god, it's like he just goes down the conspiracy rabbit hole, and then we end up talking about Tocchet and Michkov on our show once a show at least some point. It's like the same thing, and it's like, yeah, well. Mike, I don't know what else to tell you. Like, he's a kid. He just turned 21 years old. And Tocchet's been around forever. He's in his 60s. He's well respected. He just saw things collapse in Vancouver, and now he's here instituting his system. And I get it. I get it from all angles. And frustration boils over sometimes, and it doesn't do anything for me. I kind of roll my eyes at the whole situation. At the end of the day, I think they're working through it. I have no reason to believe that somebody's got to go or anything crazy like that.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone's going anywhere, but an antenna did go up. Like, oh, interesting.
Right.
Okay. Jack, did you just drop something over there?
Yeah, I'm just on the ground.
Just fall off your desk over there?
No, actually, that came from like 2 rooms.
Something
over.
fell like right behind you, I think. Do you see that? Hang on, let me move it. Yeah, it's right down there. You see where your name thing is? Right behind you.
Right here?
Yeah, just put your head down a little bit. It's weird.
Why?
Just, hey, would you mind blowing me while you're down there?
There we go. Oh,
Tim
no.
Saunders, drop of the week.
Jim, I think we're still alive.
Yeah, that was one of our topics there. I know that was a few days ago.
I believed you for a second. I thought there's a ghost in the house or something. Like, what?
I tried.
100%. It's a car catching on at the end. But yeah, he got me. Oh, yeah. I almost forgot about that.
Old
Jeez.
Santa Claus.
I was nervous.
Saint Nick there.
Well, before I get into it, what did you think about that, Jim? I thought I saw you tweet during the game.
Oh, that was awesome, dude.
Like, does anybody want to listen to the radio?
I made a quick ice cream run at apparently the perfect time. And I heard Saunders say we're going to commercial, and they never went. And I heard him. So when I heard him hum or whatever he did when he went bum bum bum, I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna get something good here. I was like praying for it. Like, please say something crazy. And I don't want anyone to get in trouble, so don't think it was because of that. But when I heard him say it, I was like, oh, that's amazing. That's so good.
Oh my god.
So and then
got your wish.
I was hoping that somebody was going to tell him after that, because I didn't want him to keep going.
Right.
And luckily, Fridge let him know, and he, it was just hilarious. The whole, really though, like, after the funny kind of stopped, I was like, man, whoever the producer is there, like, just messed up big time. They should have got suspended for 2 games, because they kind of hung him out to dry there.
They did. It was my understanding the second that he is like, it's supposed to click over and go, and it did not. And it's like, I got nervous because I swear I've been listening to Tim Saunders since he took over for Jim Jackson, and like, I want to say like 96, 7, 8-ish, like around that time. He's been doing it that long. And when I was a little kid and they would have their like 9 o'clock starts and I couldn't watch the entire game, I've been listening to Tim Saunders like as I went to bed for the third period of the Flyers game forever. He's got the perfect voice. He's been there forever. I was just nervous, even with the 2-game suspension. I was waiting for them to be like, okay, we've decided to part ways or something stupid like that. And luckily that has not happened. Knock on wood, because he was back on the radio, I believe, last night. Somebody told me, because I wasn't listening to the radio. And I was like, 2 games is fine. I understand they have to do something because of the networks and that apology that they released that got reposted 1,000 times. People were pissed. And, I get it. As long as it just stops, they got to do it. It is what it is.
Do you think the Flyers made a bigger deal about that than they needed to?
I don't know. It's tough because I know that they have to say something. They can't not say anything because of their sponsors, because of other entities involved. If it was purely just Flyers and they own their own network and they have to worry about that stuff, they probably would have made one simple small apology and been done with it. We also live in an era where, people want you fired for anything. They want blood. People want blood for anything you do, even if it's a misspeak or whatever. Like they want you gone. Like that's the era we live in now. So I understand they got to try to get ahead of it. That's also why I was nervous it was going to come out and say that he was fired or something. So luckily he had his 2-game suspension. He's back. It's hilarious. And I'm seeing it. It's getting bigger than I realized. I'm seeing people imitate it on other shows, other non-hockey shows. It's getting crazy. But good old Timmy. He's still around. They're past it now. We just laugh about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I don't have too much. I don't have too big opinions on this, but I thought the Flyers, they made it a national thing by doing what they did. Whereas it could have just been like, a Philly thing and done in a day. They made it national. And I don't know. I assume that these people know what they're doing because, they went to these schools and got educated for PR and human HR and all this stuff, whatever it is. So I assume that they think ahead and they think about, like, are we going to make this a bigger thing than it is? Or, like you said, are they going to say something? Because if they don't, that there are people out there that are going to, come with their pitchfork. So
yeah,
kind of put in a weird spot, but it felt like, am I muffled with this stupid thing? Because I'll gladly take it off.
It's up to you. I can hear you fine. It's a little funny, but not crazy.
All right. To me, when they came out with a statement, I'm like, oh man, guys, like it could have been way less, or it could have been, you could have worded it differently. Because if you didn't listen to it, if you didn't hear it, the way that they apologized, the way that they made it sound, like you went and found it, and then you're retweeting it and you're telling all your friends about it. And then they're telling their friends, you know what I mean? So, it's whatever. I'm glad nothing really crazy negative came from it, but felt like the Flyers as the organization made that way bigger than it needed to be.
Definitely. But yeah, I don't disagree. I definitely saw a lot of things from them about it, but I just come back to like, I want it to be over with and done, but it's the world we live in, man. I get it. They kind of got to, I don't even know if they really wanted to do it. They felt like they had to, or maybe they were pressured to.
Yeah.
If the only thing for me is if they did anything permanent, I was going to really, if they fired him, I was going to boycott. Like I was going to be, you kidding me? I was retweeting the free Timmy stuff. Like I love Saunders, so I'm glad that it's past it. I get it. And yeah, ultimately, did they? Yes, but just part of me, it's like they probably kind of had to. So whatever.
Yeah. All right. What do we have next here? We are 37 minutes into our Christmas episode. Ho, ho, ho. If you couldn't tell by now, it is Christmas Eve. And all right. So we have our Flyers Christmas wish list that we're going to get to in just a little bit. But I got a question for you, Jack. The Flyers are currently 19, 10, and 7 with 45. Is it 45? Let me get this on the screen here. 45 points. Second in the Metro. Points percentage-wise, they're second in the Eastern Conference, Jack. My question to you is, do they need a 1D? Or can they do this with the committee?
So it's an interesting question. Do they need a 1D? I believe they do. I believe they don't have one. They're doing it by committee. If they were to only be able to add elsewhere, like on offense and forwards and whatnot, could they do it? Yeah, Florida proved that, basically. They didn't really have a 1D. You could say Ekblad, but I compared it when we think of franchise D, I'm thinking of like Hedmans and guys of that nature and McCars. So is it possible? It's been proven it's possible. I just don't want to go that route. I really think they were to get a true top of the lineup, Darlene-esque type or something close to it. It just would make their defensive pairings, as you knock those players down, they would just be so much better. So much better. I think I really don't know how this team will stand up in a playoff series and just in general against the top tier teams in the league. I want to see more of that. And to be honest, like we talked a lot of good, but that game against Buffalo really pissed me off. That game against the Rangers incredibly pissed me off. It ruined Barkey's debut in a way for me because they don't play a full 60. And I think if your offense doesn't have it going, your defense could, and your goaltending for that matter, but we know the goaltending has been pretty solid this year, obviously. but like your defense can really lock things down until your offense gets going. And also when you play like a good half of the game, and when you stop playing, which they definitely did in Buffalo, and they started to with the Rangers, the defense, a really lockdown defense, can kind of still get you the W. You know, when Risto takes that silly 3 minutes left and he puts a puck in the stands for the penalty, that maybe they have a better opportunity at killing that. Or maybe he's not even on the ice and that doesn't happen. So I think there's a level of defense we haven't seen since like Pronger, Timonen, that we're just not used to. That being said, it is possible to get by. I think we have enough pieces with how well Drysdale's improved this year defensively. He does all the right things at the right time kind of guy. We just doesn't have the offense we thought he would have. Same goes for York. Sanheim has turned his career around. Risto's looking like the guy before he got injured. You know, Andre's a nice piece. I've almost named an entire D-core at that point. You know, Sealer's a very usable defenseman. So I don't know if that core is going to get it done for you, but not having a 1D and just having some really good defensive pairings, it is possible, sure. But I would still very much want them to somehow, some way, get a number one defenseman.
Would you rather, if you had to choose one or the other, trade for 1D or 1C?
I mean, obviously, it's a loaded question. I would need to know who that is and how old they are in contract. But just to answer the question for the sake of it, the way this team is playing, I would lean towards a 1C for sure. We just are really slacking at the position. A true 1C would go a long way.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. Like, and I'm not sure it would cost as much as, you know, you're talking about when you talk Dahlin and these guys. That's superstar, like workhorse, bona fide, you know, top defenseman. Like that's going to cost like an arm and a leg. Number one, because they don't become. Look, when's the last 1D that was traded? Like
Quinn Hughes.
There you go. Yeah. So like before him, like, I mean, I can't recall. Like that was so rare.
It's tough. Like I just remember what Pronger did when we brought him in. Like they went from they did have a nice run. They went to the Eastern Conference Finals like 2 years before. But before that, they were coming out of the doghouse. And they had Timonen on that team. But like when they got Pronger, they went to Game 6 overtime of the Cup. And then when Pronger got hurt and was out, they went back to either maybe winning a playoff series or one and done. Like it goes, and I see when it like Hedman is done for Tampa and Makar is done for Colorado, and I mean it obviously goes an absolute long way, but it's possible to win without it, especially in today's game.
Yeah, so I find myself, you know, asking that question, like, what does this team need more? The 1C or the 1D, if they have to choose one or the other. And the D seems to be rounding into form, especially with Ristolainen back. Like he's, you know, I know they went through a little lull there against the Rangers, which, you know, really pissed me off too, because they were up by 2 goals twice. Yeah. And the Rangers have trouble scoring at home. And then the game against Buffalo, like those games are going to happen. But you want to see them win those games. Buffalo somehow on I think a 7-game heater now, since they fired their GM. They must have really hated that guy.
Yeah, right. He's killing me. We need them to lose. Come on, we need their pieces. They need to be bad for that.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
So, like, you know, I think Dahlin is from Finland, or I don't want to get this wrong here, so let me double check. If Dahlin is from Finland, then Kekalainen is from Sweden. So Dahlin's from Sweden and Kekalainen is Finnish. Oh. So I know it's not the same country, right? But I think there will be a relationship there. Two Norwegian guys, you know, in the NHL, same team. Maybe there's a bridge, and you know, Dahlin is re-inspired. I don't know if he becomes available. I'm trying to predict the future a little bit. So in my mind, it's still okay. Who's more realistic here? Is it Bowen Byram? Owen Power? You know, does Kekalainen come in and say this guy is just not cutting it for the amount of money we're paying him in the draft spot that we drafted him at? You know, maybe there's not enough room for these 3 guys on this roster. And I know Byram's only signed for this year and next. So, it looks like Byram would be the guy that is moved. So, I try to figure out what they're going to do. And, any trade with Buffalo, I've kind of put on hold.
Mhm.
So then I look to, okay, we're not going to get the guys that I want right now kind of thing. Who do I pivot to? And I've pivoted to the center position, right? And it's like we see top centers become disgruntled and moved far more often than we see top defensemen moved. And so, and they don't go for as much. Yeah, you still got to give up resources. I'm not saying that, but I think these guys are easier to find. And I just wonder, like, could they do that sooner than finding a 1D kind of thing,
Yeah, it's tough. It's situational. That's why we got all hyped about Quinn Hughes. It's like, when do these guys become available? But every now and then somebody does. Maybe it's not the perfect one, but I think it's more. I don't, like you said, everything with Buffalo's on hold right now. I don't know if they're going to still make a move involving Power or Byram or something like that. But like, I look at it, I'm trying to look at like who's a bad team right now. You had the stand are the Blues still at the bottom? Could we potentially see? If what I want them to do is, if they do make a trade, it's got to be somebody who's here for the long haul, or at least as close to it, not just this year. And I center back. I'm like, what center could potentially be available? Would at least technically cross off the list as a number one center? And it's like, I guess Robert Thomas. Like that's the name I keep an eye on. When I scoreboard watch, I want Buffalo to lose, I want St. Louis to lose, and there's a few other teams I kind of teeter back and forth with, but some of them are coming out of the rebuild, teams like the Sharks and Chicago and whatnot. So it's like they're not gonna trade you a 1C. They're all young guys, and I don't know what the hell's going on with Nashville. We ain't getting Stamkos, that ridiculous rumor. Who would they even trade? Like, we're going to get Ryan O'Reilly? Like, it doesn't make sense. So it's slim pickings right now. And I always go back to the off seasons where it's at, which is why I don't see. I know they're in second in the division, and I feel that puts you in buyer territory. But I don't see them spending significant assets unless it's for a player that'll be here much past this season. And I don't know if that's available right now.
Yeah. Okay. So let me ask you this. If you had your choice of a move, something I wanted to mention real quick that came out in a clip really quick there. I think somehow Zegras was asked about, Zegras was asked why he started calling Rick Tocchet Taco. And he mentioned that he's really good friends with Quinn Hughes. And Quinn Hughes told him to call him that. I thought that was interesting.
There's a connection, Jimmy.
When Hughes was traded to Minnesota, hearing how they're doing all this stuff for him, yada yada. They're trying to wow him and trying to get him to stay there, kind of thing. I'm like, okay, is the door still open here for Hughes? But I just thought that was interesting that Zegras said that he talks to Quinn Hughes, like it sounds like pretty frequently. So that was pretty cool. So
keep it alive.
I guess it was kind of a reminder that when you bring in skilled players have friends around the league, and some of them might be other skilled players. So maybe they get them to come here. I don't know. Just it was kind of a reminder. Dude, pay Zegras whatever he wants at this point, right? Seriously, yeah. Especially if you can bring over like a guy like Quinn Hughes or something. Pay him whatever.
Right. No, hey, whatever it takes. Keep us in the conversation until he officially signs long-term with Jersey. Just keep us alive. We never know. Stranger things have happened.
That's a cool comment there from Oakham. Nothing like last-minute shopping for the wife and daughter than stopping for a bite to eat and listening to you two on a podcast. We appreciate you too, Oakham. Thanks for listening. Merry Christmas to you.
Very nice. Merry Christmas. Thank you.
All right. So potentially last topic here. What would you ask for Santa Briere for Christmas, Jack, for this Flyers team? You can name a couple things, but one player that you want that you think would be perfect for this squad.
Oh man, anybody that could potentially be available?
Yeah, like realistically, because we all want like Draisaitl, McDavid, McKinnon.
Yeah, I mean that's a good one. Well, we talked about Buffalo guys to death, so I'm not going to say my answer would be Darlene, but I'm not going to say Darlene for the sake of this. Tage Thompson's one that comes to mind. I'd say a Tage or some kind of Thompson. How about that? Whether it's a Robert or it's a Tage,
Thomas or Thompson.
Yeah, some kind of Thomas, something like that. I would love to drop a center right into like a true center with this team and have them change the lineup however they have to make it work. And obviously players be going the other way. And then because it would check several boxes of the long-term 1C technically. And, then we're looking at the playoffs like, okay, maybe we can, if it stays like this, like I saw today, we would play the Islanders. But they could beat the Islanders in a 7-game series, and they could. Like, come on, we still owe them for a cup of 2020. Like, especially if you add a Robert Thomas. Like, come on. We got the Vladar playing out of his mind, some really nice defensemen. It's a shame not having Forrester, but you make it work. Barkey coming up, if he can keep that going, whoever Bump may come up at some point and make some noise. I just like it. I like it. The only thing is the whole Michkov thing. So if you asked for a player, if I wasn't allowed to say a player, just something I wanted, I would have said for Michkov to come out of this lull and just hit the ground running in 2026, or maybe after the Olympic break, whatever makes the most sense, and just play like he did last year, because that was just up this team's overall play tremendously.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on hearing him taking himself off the ice after 20 seconds?
Michkov did that?
Yeah, he's going out for 20-second shifts.
And he's taking himself off?
Yeah, because he's tired.
That's not good. That's way out of shape still. That's not even – I mean, I didn't know that. I did not see that. Like, is that all the time or like occasionally?
I'm assuming it's a more recent thing, but once that was said, I've kind of been looking for it. And it's interesting. I wonder, like, if you're a teammate, if you're the guy that is only getting 20-second breaks, kind of thing.
That's crazy.
Like,
I did not know that. I don't like that at all. It scares me a little bit.
It's something. It's definitely something. Oh. So, anyways, yeah. I mean, I hope. Look, spend the day with your family, whatever. Yeah. But don't eat too many cookies or whatever you're doing out there.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I don't know. Whatever. I'm not going to spend too much time on Michkov because it's Christmas Eve. Keep it positive. That's a good.
Enough's enough, Jim. Enough Michkov. There's other players on the team.
Yeah, seriously. Okay. What would I ask for? Obviously, Tage Thompson, Robert Thomas would be great. And those would be obviously near the top of my list as well. Like, if we're talking about playoffs.
Playoffs?
Those guys, like the Flyers, I think can get in as is. But I don't want them to just get in. I want them to go in thinking we should win this matchup. We should win this round. And then the second round, whoever you get matched up with, it's probably going to be like Carolina, Washington, Tampa Bay, whoever. That's the round I want them to be like, let's really see how far we can go here, because they're not going to be picked to win. But like, go into it thinking that you have a shot. I don't want them going into the playoffs thinking, I'm just happy to be here. I don't want them to just experience the Philly crowd. We want them to experience what it feels like winning in the playoffs, because that's what you become addicted to. You know what I mean? So why I'm so much on the like, dude, figure something out. Like, stick to the plan, but like change course just a little bit. Like, speed things up just a tad here without, fully changing the plan. Like, there are ways to do that. And one of the knocks on Hextall back in the day was that he wouldn't change his plan no matter what. I think a good GM realizes, all right, things are maybe a little bit more ahead of schedule here. Because like Briere in the beginning of the season said playoffs weren't a goal. And whether he meant that or whether he was just saying that to take the pressure off the guys, that's up for debate. The reality is, though, through, 36 games, whatever it is, they're number 2 in the Metro. I think they're 4 points out of first. Points percentage wise, they're second in the East. You could say whatever you want about the Eastern Conference. Flyers are in second. And so that's the reality now. The plan should shift a little bit. It shouldn't be, let's kind of see what these guys do. And if we get in, we'll see what happens. All right. It should be, all right, these guys are playing well enough. They're ahead of schedule. We don't have to mortgage the future, but we should try to speed it up a little bit. We don't want this season to go to waste because maybe there's somewhat of a perfect storm happening, not that the Flyers are going to win the cup, but this, in my opinion, this year is turning into somewhat like of an anomaly season. Make the most of it. And how can we do that? Let's see if we can get one of these good young centers from one of these underachieving teams. You named Tage Thompson. Obviously, he would be the goal, right? A 40-goal center, can dish the puck. He's smart with the puck. He's flashy. Be a fun player to watch. Robert Thomas be perfect in an offense like this. A guy that likes to dish the puck. He could have 60+ assists in this lineup. A couple of guys that I talked about last week for an underachieving Seattle organization who just did things completely ass backwards when Las Vegas gave you the blueprint of how an expansion team in today's NHL should work. Seattle chose to do the complete opposite, and they deserve everything they're getting right now. Hired Dave Haxtell, doing the whole analytics thing for the I don't know what they're doing. They're not drafting well, maybe a little bit better of late. But the way that they've handled Shane Wright's been weird. Matty Beniers seems to be regressing with this new coach here. I think there's an opportunity to go in and buy low. Not that you're going to get these guys for nothing, because you're going to have to give up, some of your top assets still. But there's a buy low opportunity, especially on a player like Shane Wright, who the unfortunate part is I think he has the same agent or similar agent, same agency as Cutter Gauthier. So that'll be a thing, I'm sure. But Matty Beniers also won the Calder Award as a rookie. So these are two players that if the Flyers are able to swing a deal, I would be happy. I would be excited about, okay, they fit the timeline. These are skilled centers, true centers, right? Because when they traded for Zegras, it was like, all right, he can play center, but he also plays wing, and that's where he's been lining up at a lot for the majority of this season. So that's why we're still looking at centers. And so, I have a list here: Tage Thompson, Robert Thomas, Matty Beniers, Shane Wright. I would be happy with any one of those guys. And then sort of a wild card guy, because Columbus is a little weird. They just made a trade for Marchment, which I thought was interesting because it was around the time I put out the Seattle video. If you haven't watched it yet, make sure you go check that out after the episode. Let me know what you think.
And they just acquired him this offseason from Dallas.
Yeah. So something, they could be looking to shake things up already, which I thought was interesting. Cole Sillinger, another center. I know he's not a guy that people are going to get excited about, but could be a guy that needs a change of scenery. And maybe he gets, you put him in the right situation with the Flyers, and he just needs a kick in the ass. Another guy that you can buy low on. So those are a few guys. But I'm with you, Jack. I would go 1C over 1D right now. The perfect situation, I think, has to present itself, like the Quinn Hughes, to go get a 1D. Otherwise, you're absolutely going to overpay, right?
Every time. So,
yeah.
One thing we say about Briere, though, is and I trust him in this regard. We were talking about what we would give up for Zegras 2 years ago. I remember doing that episode. And it's like he waits for the right time. He got Zegras in his 37 points in 36 games for a second, a fourth, and a fourth liner. Damn. I think if the time does strike and they're ready, the winning is only going, as you're saying, to advance the timeline. The more the Flyers win, the more it's going to pressure Briere to make that move. when it presents himself. I'm not saying, and I think people are going to become impatient. And I'm saying when it presents himself, if they were losing, I don't know if he makes that move unless it's like a, can't miss 24-year-old, whatever, weird situation thing, or Quinn Hughes for what have you. But I think now with them winning, and it could also help you in the future, if a guy like all the players you just named, if one of those guys does become available now, I think it's more likely he pulls the trigger or gets something done because they're proving they can already win. That's still a position of need. It helps them for the future. It could put them over the top in a sense where they want to be because they're still trying to attract free agents and players and trades to sign. Like it just checks so many boxes now that the team is playing well to do that. And the more they win, the better, the longer they stay in the playoff race, especially towards the top of the division. Yeah, didn't you say, did I hear you say earlier they were second in the Eastern Conference on winning percentage? The Eastern Conference? When's the last time you could say that about this team? So, yeah, I say I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it's like the next time the Flyers play will be, it's Sunday, which is, they have 3 games left in 2026. They play Seattle, Vancouver, and Calgary. And then it's 2026. They could theoretically win all those games and be in first place, or just separate themselves from those lower than them. Like now you're in 2026 and you're strongly in a playoff spot. It makes you think. It makes you wonder. Now because we're definitely buyers at the deadline. It's just, what are we buying? Is it a 4th rounder for some depth or whatnot, something like that? But they're already in the buying position. All it takes is another team to say this player is available, and you have potential there. And I think we're starting to see more deals at the deadline that involve players on longer term contracts. A lot of that was like teams like Vegas getting a guy on IR and making it work. But the point is, it does happen, and it is more likely. So it could be exciting. It could be. I hope they keep winning. I hope they keep themselves in that position where it's almost like, well, Briere, you said you're going to win now. The playoffs aren't a priority, but you're clearly there. You've said you're not going to trade off pieces like they did 2 years ago, Sean Walker, for assets because you're not ready. You said you're not going to do that. So what are you going to do? You can't just do nothing.
It would be tough as a player to be, where they are in the standings and hear your GM come out and say at the deadline, playoffs were never a goal, right? As a player, you're like, well, we're here. We want the playoffs. We don't want to just make them. Like, what's the point of just making them? Like,
right.
we want to have the opportunity to advance.
And we'll back him. I don't want to give him up a first round pick for a guy who's just going to walk at the end of the year, even though that helps your playoff chances. I still back him in that regard. But to not look around elsewhere that would just be stupid. Like with the players we mentioned, like to not be in that conversation, that would be, at this point, based on what you've said in the direction you're going, that would be dumb.
Yeah. So here's something interesting, Jack, because we're talking about Metro and Eastern Conference. This is the standings currently, the points in the National Hockey League, where the Flyers sit 6th in the entire league in points. Now, obviously, a lot of things can change, but just watching the way they play, I think aside from Dallas and Colorado, Jack, and there's Vegas too, only 3 teams in the entire league have have less regulation losses than the Flyers. The Flyers are a tough team to beat in the 60 minutes of regulation, which you might say, so what? They have 7 overtime losses. But teams aren't taking 2 points from them. In 36 games, they've only given up 2 points a game 10 times. All right. So I'm choosing to look at some of the positive there, even though I think they lost 3 or 4 in a row in the overtime or shootout. And that starts to get old when they start to happen in succession like that. But there's some positive stuff here, man. Points percentage, they're 6th as well. You could see Vegas kind of jumps in there. But look, this doesn't happen by accident. And so, we'll save some of this for the next show because I know it's Christmas Eve and we're a little bit over an hour here. I start to look at the parity in the league or the mediocrity, whatever you want to call it, and I look at which teams were supposed to be good that are severely underachieving, right? And maybe next episode we can list the teams. Next week we'll look at some of those teams and see, okay, if the Flyers are going to be buyers, whose door can they knock on?
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, but we're a little bit over here. We don't want to hold you guys. We know you got to get to your families, get your shopping done, like Oakland out there, wait to the last minute.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Jack, anything else you wanted to pop in before we wrap up?
Jim, I have two things. One of them is the read. Let me knock that out real quick.
Sure.
All right, guys, quick timeout because if you're a diehard Philly fan, you need to hear about this. Fans of Philly is the ultimate way to hit the road with the Birds, the Flyers, the Phillies, or even the Sixers. We're talking full travel packages, your hotel, your transportation, and yes, the tailgates that are basically legendary at this point, all taken care of for you. No stress, no scrambling for tickets, no worrying about where you're staying. You just show up, throw on your jersey, and enjoy the ride with fellow diehard Philly fans. So whether it's flying out to see the Eagles take over an opponent's arena, cheering on the Flyers in enemy territory, or making it a full weekend getaway for your Phillies and Sixers games, Fans of Philly has you covered. Trust me, this is the closest you'll get to feeling like one of the players themselves as they roll into town, because the takeover is real. So check them out Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and start planning your next Philly sports road trip today. That's Fans of Philly, fansofphilly.com, where every away game feels like a home game.
Thank you very much, Jack. All right, boys and girls, we're going to wrap up our Christmas Eve episode. The Flyers are in second place. They continue their schedule. I think it's Saturday or Sunday. I should have the schedule up here.
Sunday, Seattle, 8 o'clock, and then they play on New Year's Eve and New Year's Eve. So
that's right. They start that little Western road trip out there. They won't be back home for a couple of weeks.
That's right. And before you log off, Jim, just want to tell you, we did it.
We hit 2K.
We hit 2K, Jim.
I didn't think that we were going to do that. So I want to thank everybody for, watching. If you subscribed, thank you very much. If you haven't yet, make sure you do that. We, over 200 new subscribers in the month of December. Thank you guys. Thank you all for that. It's a really cool Christmas present to wake up to today. I think we're at 2012. So we smashed the record. So really, really thank you guys. And while you're at it, give the episode a like. Let's hit 100. And let's break 2 records today. So thank you everyone for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, once again, make sure to subscribe. Help us continue our quest for 2,500 YouTube subscribers now.
Let's go, baby. Like
and leave a comment for us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and set alerts so you're the first to know when we drop a new show. For all of our latest episodes, articles, and updates, you can find us on YouTube. For Jack, I'm Jim. Merry Christmas, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Merry
HW
Christmas.
Hockey. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching HW Hockey. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.